and welcome back to Life of Posy. In today's video, I want to show you a quick tutorial on how to make this adorable little Christmas dress that Miss Posy is wearing. It's a simple little basic dress, nothing too frilly, as she already has a fancy Christmas dress I made a few years ago. But I could not resist picking up these two little fat quarters of fabric at Walmart. They were about $1.50 a piece, and I thought, how fun would it be to throw together a simple Christmas dress? So stay tuned to follow along. Like I said, I found these fat quarters at Walmart in the craft section for only about $1.50 a piece. They're so adorable, and there's usually quite a few to choose from. For this project, we're going to use our fabric, our pattern, scissors, and some pins. Let's get started. I've decided to use this red piece of fabric for my bodice. Go ahead and take this fat quarter and fold it in half, just like this. It's usually a good idea to iron the fabric first, but I'm actually doing this around 9 o'clock at night in my bedroom, and I really didn't feel like getting the iron out. Next, lay your pattern on top. I'm showing you here that I'm using a different pattern than the one I made out of tissue paper because this one's a little sturdier. It's a pattern I made a few years ago for Posy, and I still refer back to it quite often. However, the straps are a little bit short, so I extend the fabric when I cut it out. Once your pattern is pinned in place, go ahead and cut it out. At this point, we'll go ahead and remove the pins. Now take your two pieces of fabric and put them together good sides facing each other. So we'll flip this one over, and here again, no, I should have ironed the fabric. It wouldn't have been curling up on me like it is now, but I was being lazy. So place them good sides together and pin all the way around the perimeter, except for the bottom half. Now that we're completely pinned together, we're going to take it to the sewing machine and sew all the way up and around the bodice, but we're going to be sure to leave the bottom half open. This is where we'll attach the skirt. Be sure to backstitch at the beginning and end of your sewing. Stitch all the way around using about 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now that we've sewn all the way around, we'll take our corners and snip them off. Carefully use your scissors to remove the corner without cutting into the seam. Do this on all pointy corners. Next, we need to cut a few notches into the neckline. This will help the fabric to bend more smoothly. Simply fold the fabric in half and cut the corner off. Be careful not to cut into the seam. Do this in a few places around the neckline. Now you can see that it's been notched out. This will make a big difference in our finished product. At this point, go ahead and turn your fabric right side out. At this point, I use something like this pair of scissors or a knitting needle to push out the corners, but remember to be careful and not poke through the fabric. At this point, it would be a good idea to run an iron over this, but I'm being lazy, so I'm going to skip it. So the next step is to work on the skirt, which we will attach to the bodice later. Take your second fat quarter and lay it out. Take your bodice and lay it across the fabric to determine how wide you want your skirt. I'm going to do it the length of this bodice, strap to strap. You'll also want to determine how long your skirt needs to be. I'm going to take this second piece of fabric and add it to my skirt, and I'll show you how. I've determined that Posey's skirt should be about 6 inches long. So I am measuring up about 5 inches here and cutting a long strip. Now that I have this strip, I'm going to take the other piece of fabric and lay them good sides together. I'm going to take some clips or pins and make sure it's secured well so that I can bring it over to my sewing machine. Once at my sewing machine, I'll sew down the length of this skirt. Okay, as you can see, it is completely attached now, and this too would be a good time to press it with an iron so that the seams lay flat. But as you can see, I have a cute little striped border at the bottom of the skirt. Now I need to measure exactly the length that I want this skirt to be, and also leave some seam allowance. So I have determined that I want the skirt to be 6 inches, and so I will make it about 6.5 so that I can allow for a hem. Next, go ahead and flip your skirt over, and we are going to roll up the bottom hem 1/4 inch and then another 1/4 inch. You can pin it in place if you'd like, or iron it, or do as I do and bring it to your sewing machine and fold as you go. This will give us a nice hem. You'll also want to do the sides. As you can see, I've done it all and it looks nice and clean. Next, we are going to gather our skirt. We're going to run a stitch through the top of this skirt at our sewing machine. First off, you will want to set your stitch size to the largest setting, which for me is 5. Also, you can adjust your tension to the highest number. This will automatically make the fabric gather. Start on one end, but do not go back and forth. You do not need to make a knot. That is not recommended. Just start sewing and keep it close to the edge of the fabric. As you can see, because we adjusted the tension, our skirt has gathered. Next, I want my skirt to meet up in the middle of this bodice, right here where the straps end, so you may need to do a little adjusting. Simply find your strings, push the back one backwards, and pull on the front string while you gently pull the fabric and gather it towards the center. Do this on both sides until you have reached the length that you need. Continue gathering the fabric and checking with the bodice until you have reached the desired width. As you can see, mine looks good. So now I am going to open up my bodice and take the back portion and fold it up out of the way. We want to be sure to have it out of the way so that when we sew the skirt to the bodice, it won't get attached. Flip your skirt upside down and line up your edges. Take some pins or clips to secure this in place. You want to sew all the way down this length as close to the raw edge of the fabric without catching the back portion of the bodice. Take your time and make sure that the ruffles are laying down flat before you sew over them. As you go along, remove the clips and readjust your ruffles as needed. Do not forget to backstitch at the beginning and the end. At this point, I like to check and make sure that I caught the entire skirt into the bodice before I leave the sewing machine, and this looks great. Right here you can see a little bit of the string from before. If this bothers you, you can go ahead and use a seam ripper to remove it, but we're going to cover it up with a ribbon. Next, flip your dress over and pull the back of the bodice down. Now we're going to cover up the messy skirt by folding this bodice in about 1/4 of an inch and pinning it to the back of the skirt. Continue to pin all the way across the bodice. When you get to the side straps, you can simply fold the end of the strap under and see that it automatically wants to fold in on itself. Then take some clips or pins and close this up as well. So now we're going to take it to the sewing machine and sew down the length of this bodice, side strap to side strap. Be sure to keep it as close to the edge as you can, being sure to catch both sides of the fabric, especially on the side straps. I've decided to go with a simple black rickrack to make my waistband look a little more neat. I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and sew all the way across the waistline, including both side straps, one into the next. Here at the end, I just simply cut off the rickrack, tuck it under the bottom, and continue sewing over. Don't forget to backstitch. While I'm at the sewing machine, I'm going to go ahead and attach my Velcro closures. I'm showing you here how the pieces of the neck strap would line up. This portion here would need some Velcro facing the top, so I will clip that in place. On the opposite neck strap, it'll go on the bottom half in order to line up with the Velcro. So go ahead and pin that in place. Next, attach the Velcro to the waistband as well. It will basically go in the same orientation, one on the top of the strap and one on the bottom of the opposite strap, just as we did with the neckline. Now that we have our Velcro pinned in place, go ahead and sew them on. I do this by sewing across the Velcro on all 4 sides. Okay, as you can see, the Velcro lines up properly. And there you have a very cute dress. But I think we need to add one more embellishment. I'm going to take this cute little white bow that I found at Walmart and stitch it on by hand. Simply tie a knot in your thread and come up the back of your fabric, then push it through the back of your bow and go back down into the fabric. Do this a few times and then be sure to knot it off in the back. And there you have it. All we have to do now is try it on our sweet little posy. Fits like a glove. How adorable is that? This project only took me about an hour and a half. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that you'll give it a try. Have a very Merry Christmas and we'll see you next year.